Accused murderer Karen Read has thousands and thousands of supporters all over the country, but the most passionate ones live close by in Massachusetts. And when Karen is in court, they show up outside the courthouse, sometimes in enormous numbers and usually dressed in pink. During the first trial, they were kept 200 feet from the courthouse. And now, as we get ready for the retrial of the century, Judge Cannone has expanded the zone. But now the judge is getting sued for allegedly violating the free speech rights of Karen Read's supporters. Tonight, we take a closer look. But first, in the quiet town of Wauchula, Florida, a heartbreaking tale unfolded, casting a somber shadow over the Nix family. Tracey Nix, a 67-year-old former educator, faced the unimaginable loss of 2 grandchildren under her care within a span of months. In December of 2021, tragedy struck when 16-month-old Ezra wandered into a pond near Nix's home and drowned. No charges were filed in that tragedy. However, the family's anguish deepened in November of 2022 when 7-month-old Uriel was left unattended in Nix's vehicle, leading to her death from hyperthermia. This heart-wrenching event led to Nix's arrest and subsequent trial. In January of 2025, a jury acquitted her of aggravated manslaughter, but found her guilty of leaving a child unattended in a vehicle causing great bodily harm. Today was her sentencing, and the courtroom was filled with heartbreak and anguish, but was justice served? I'm Vinnie Politan. Thank you so much for joining us tonight here on Closing Arguments. And this is not going to be easy. It never is when we cover this story. This is a really, really sad story. This is one that I don't know what to feel other than complete despair when I talk about it. Because I think about what happened to this family. I think about what happened to these children. And, you know, some of the cases, there's a level of anger at a criminal defendant. Sometimes there is, you get caught up in the evidence. You get caught up in, did they prove it? Did they not prove it? Was something else going on here? And then when I look at this story, in this case, this trial, it's just incredibly sad on every level. A little child died inside a car. Hot car death. That's brutal for a child. And it was grandma who left her in the car. Now, when you think about what happened to that child, it's, again, it's sad. It is so sad. And you think about grandma, and you know she didn't do it on purpose. She wasn't charged with doing it on purpose. No one believes she did it on purpose. But she was responsible for a child, and a child died in her care. Like I said, are you going to get angry? Are you out for vengeance? It's a different, for me at least, it's a different type of criminal case. Much different. Everyone knows each other. And I think everyone loves each other on both sides. Then you think about this mom who lost 2 children. How do you, how do you get through that without even being part of the equation that your mother is the one responsible? Just the fact of losing 2 young children is so incredibly sad. This is not a murder case. There's not some serial killer out there taking out these kids. It was I believe someone who loved these children. Sad. And today was the sentencing. And the sadness continued. I can't imagine the emotions, but our system of justice has to do something with this. You have to figure out what to do with it and how to do it, but it's an extremely different type of situation. I mean, when we usually walk into a criminal courtroom, like we're gonna do in Karen Reed, you know who's sitting over here, you know who's sitting over there, and you know what they think, and you know what they think. And we know what they think of each other. And it's like that. It's one side versus the other. This devastates a family, takes the lives of two really young children. And a young mom in her relationship with her mother and a grandmother who's responsible for all of this. And in the middle of it all, we've got prosecutors, defense attorneys, and a judge who have to then figure it all out after the jury renders their decision. So I want you to take a listen to Kayla and Drew, the mother and father of the two children. And just keep in mind as you listen to what they have to say, is that within months of each other, they lost two very young children.
Basically what we're doing is we're justifying my child with time served in prison. And a lot of you know here, this is not the first time this has happened. This is the second time. Fortunately, we weren't able to make that case with the jurors. She was our blessing. You know, when she was born, she was our angel child. She looked so much like her son, it was ridiculous. We seen him every time we looked at her. She looked at us and it would just cut right through us, and we took that like it was God saying, here you go, here's your other shot. I'm standing up here in front of you guys, defending my children from a woman who took them away from us. To me, that's insane. It's insane. She's done this twice. And the fact that we're debating whether or not she deserves jail time is just insane to me. She took two lives. Think about what my daughter went through for hours by herself, screaming. I can't not think about that. For what? For what? In a hurry? But I'm reminded by that every single day. Because every single day is that temperature. Every single day I get into my truck and I feel that and I think of my daughter and my heart breaks. Because I can't imagine. But I have to because she did. She sat there and suffered.
I had been told by my doctors that I needed to choose. I had to choose whether I mourned Ezra or I saved Uriel. And so I put Ezra in any version of a box that I could find inside my heart. And I put him here in the name of protecting Uriel. She was my restoration. She was going to salvage my family. And that was never meant to be her purpose. She was just meant to be a beautiful little girl. But by circumstance, she became my salvation. The day that my daughter died, this one I could clearly never forget. No matter how much I wish I could wash it away, it just hold beautiful moments. It's not something that I can do. the day that I agreed to invite my mom into my daughter's life. I was afraid. I was terrified. But I wanted restoration with you. I wanted that. I wanted our family. I wanted to save something, Mom. I did. I wanted to save something. And you win. And I don't sit and believe that this was an intentional act. I wore this today. You and my dad gave me because I'm still your daughter. I'm still your daughter. And nothing is changing any of this. I still love you. I hate this. I hate that I have to choose. But you know I had to. And it doesn't change my heart as it relates to the sentencing. I've said this before. I hate it so much, but as her daughter, I don't want any of this. And as their mother, I beg you to honor my children's deaths. It doesn't lessen my love for my mom. It doesn't lessen my love for my father. It doesn't lessen any of it. But as I've had to explain to my son, there are times where things happen and they're not on purpose, and no one meant harm in those moments. But there are real consequences. And this is a moment that I struggle to say that. Because I just want some version of a family that I've lost. Family my children have lost. It's not coming back, you know. And while there's room for restoration, I do put forth the request that you honor my children's deaths when you consider the sentencing. And I love you. That has not changed. And I appreciate you. Look at me. Thank you. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. Any cross? All right. Thank you, Steve. Thanks, William. Thank you, Mr. John.
I do.
Wow. Like I said, imagine what she has been through, her and her husband. But that's like her mother, that mother-daughter relationship, and her children are gone because of her mother, and she's stuck. It's not fair. It's absolutely not fair. And it was a tough day inside that courtroom for everyone, but especially for that mom and dad. I want to bring in the attorney representing the grandma, Tracey Nix. William B. Fletcher is with us. William, thank you so much for joining us. I know it was a long day, an emotional day. How would you describe what it was like to be in that courtroom today?
Extremely emotional and extremely sad. And I'm going to confess and say I shed some tears myself. Bad.
I've seen a lot of bad cases, a lot of really heartbreaking things here at Court TV, but this shatters everything. 2 young children gone, a mother and her daughters, you know, the family is broken here. In looking at how this all happened, how would you explain it? I'm going to play part of what Tracey said today in court, but for folks at home, you've spent a lot of time with Tracey. How could this happen? Because everyone at home is thinking, one child was gone, so the next time that your daughter trusts you with her baby, you're going to be on like hyper alert, like nothing is going to happen to this baby. There is nothing more important than my granddaughter. And I'm gonna, like, how did it happen?
How did this happen? Well, first of all, the first incident was not Tracey's fault. She was there, and we talked about this before, Vince.
Right. And I want to talk
Tracey,
about Ezra in a second, but just in light of the fact that one child died, right? That one of these grandchildren is gone, and people at home, regardless of whether she's directly responsible for it, right? Something happened, and that child is dead, and now your daughter, it seems like it took her a little time to trust mom, now trusts mom, and somehow, some way, she was not alert, she was not attentive, her mind lost focus. Like, so what happened? Like, that day, in that moment, how could that happen? I think is what everyone wonders when they hear this story.
It was long-term usage of prescribed medication that should not have been prescribed to her. There's 3 separate medications. The one that sticks out in my mind the most is Ambien. She'd been taking Ambien prescribed by a PA for some 20 years. You're not supposed to be on it, according to my expert today, for more than 2 months. Elderly people like her, according to what they call a Beers list. It's a list of prescriptions and suggestions for older people. You're not really supposed to be given Ambien. It's very much cautioned to give Ambien. And then after the first death, when she was having issues, she was prescribed a double dose, or actually, according to my expert today, more than a double dose of Ambien. And I think it's pretty common, really. Once I got into the case, I saw just how Ambien affects you. And that, along with a muscle relaxer and another drug, just caused these issues. She was forgetting things, not particularly realizing it. She just thought it was a product of her age. And she said, I've never been this age before. I just thought it was a natural process. And after the death of Uriel, she was sent to what we call Peace River Center for mental health issues, and the psychiatrist there saw the medication she was on and took her off immediately, and she hasn't taken that since. So I say it was the medication, and she couldn't help herself. Now, you can forget a child anyway. Another expert I had, of course, none of these experts were allowed to testify at the trial, but I had another expert, a Dr. David Diamond, who's a scientist, and Dr. Diamond says 25% of parents, even young parents, leave their kids in the car. Just this event, it will say ending doesn't happen, thank goodness. But it's 25% of parents do the same thing. They forget, just for one reason or another. They just, the child doesn't die.
And
that's what.
Yeah, and we've covered those stories, so many of them, unfortunately, and we're coming up to the summer months again, yes, and we'll be covering another one of these stories, and another one, and another one. I want to play a part of Tracey in court today, and then I want to get your reaction to it. Let's take a look.
She got quiet, and I forgot that she was there. She was quiet, and there was nothing there to remind me that she was in the car, except the things going through my head that I needed to do. I said, when did Kayla come for Uriel? And he just looked at me. He said, I've been outside, I don't know. And then I said, when did Kayla come for Uriel? And it began to dawn on me. And then I opened the door and realized that she was in there all along. I could tell that she had passed when I looked in the car. And I ran back behind the barn to the west side of the barn. I looked for anything I could find to hurt myself. I wanted to be gone. I did not want to have to I didn't want to have to look at Kayla and Drew and tell them that this had happened. I wanted to be gone. But there was nothing there. And there was not any way that anything that I could find that would do that. So I fell on my face and I asked God just to take me. I said, I'm done. I'm done. I need you to just take me. And he wouldn't, because I would never hurt your babies on purpose. You've got to know that. You've got to know that. I just would never hurt them on purpose. I loved your babies. With all of my heart, I love your babies. So if I have to apologize, if I have the opportunity to say I'm sorry is so menial and insignificant. But maybe if I told you that I would literally lay my life down for them, maybe that would make the I'm sorry more meaningful. I would do that if it would bring them back. You've got to know that.
So, William, today in the courtroom, do you feel like justice was served today? Do you feel like she was punished appropriately for what she was convicted of? Or do you feel like she was punished for what she was convicted of plus the death of Ezra?
I think, well, he gave her the maximum sentence that he could give. And, we had won the aggravated manslaughter. I think that carried a minimum sentence of 14 years, but the jury saw that it was not culpable negligence, which is very high standard of proof. I felt like he should do something less. We had 21 letters. Judge did not mention any of those letters at all or any of the good things she had done. He said only bad things about her, that she was not remorseful and things like that. So it's within the realm of course. I think it's on the high end considering all the circumstances. 40 years as a school teacher and a principal, good member of the Baptist Church, Sunday school teacher, sang in the choir, did weekend retreats with kids, took care of her grandkids, obviously not well in these cases, but loved her grandkids. And again, I think it was the medication that did it. So the judge said he would consider the medication, even though he wouldn't let those experts in. He said he'd consider that in connection with the sentencing, but obviously he didn't. So I kind of figured this is a law and order judge. I kind of figured it would be 5 years. I did kind of figure that out, but I think in my opinion, of course, I'm a defense attorney, but in my opinion, it was high.
And as you look at this case, do you feel like I understand the medication, so, you believe she's not being properly diagnosed or properly treated for whatever she was suffering from in terms of the medication. Did anyone else, you believe, play a role in what happened with these children, like her husband, when we're talking about both children now, Ezra and Uriel?
Okay, when you talk about both children, yes, that was a very sad incident. That was the boy, Ezra, was very young. He was just walking. Neither his mother, Kayla, nor grandma, Tracey, knew that the boy could open doors. Now the grandfather said he had seen him try to open a door, but the door was locked. We don't know if he could open it or not. And I know Kayla had testified that they had high ceilings, so the doors were higher, or the doorknobs were higher. And she said he couldn't open doors. Now I know they made fun of it, but the cat could also open the door. And I'm being honest, not trying to be funny here. But yesterday I was driving home from work and I was talking to the grandfather, Nix, and he said, guess what just happened? He said, the cat just came in the door. So we don't know, Tracey fell asleep, he slipped out, the door was shut, and we don't know, did Ezra open the door or how he got out? So I think the grandfather leaving them there certainly played a role in the first death. The second death, no, Tracey had the child, and again, she forgot the child in the car after she left the restaurant.
William, we're out of time, but I really do appreciate you coming on tonight and giving the viewers much more insight into what happened, because I know a lot of people are very invested in what happened in court today, and thank you so much. Extremely
sad, horrible for everybody, and I feel so bad for the parents and the grandparents and the whole family.
The whole family. Thank you so much.
Right.
All right, folks, when we come back, we will reveal, or I will reveal, something else you need to know tonight. Plus, coming up, I'm sorry, the think tank is next. I am 1 hour ahead of myself already, or like 15 minutes at least. We're going to bring in the think tank, get their take on all this, plus coming up next hour.
Tonight on Vinnie Politan Investigates, a 32-year-old man kept captive in his home for decades, weighing only 68 pounds, was rescued when he set his home on fire. Why was he locked up? Tonight, his stepmother's lawyer joins us live to answer that question.
Join Court TV's Vinnie Politan with the latest and breaking true crime stories.
Now, let's look at the other side of all of that.
Vinnie Politan Investigates, tonight, 9/8 Central, only on Court TV.
We're here to try and understand the mindset behind your actions in this case.
Interview with a Killer, a special 2-hour season premiere, Sunday, April 13th, only on Court TV.
Special offer.
Your Honor, whatever your decision is, I want you to know that I'm already in prison. No one can do more to themselves than I have done to myself. I wake up every day and I think about it. I go to bed every night and I think about it. And I will do that until I draw my last breath. So you may feel like you need to do something more, and I will understand that. But I do want you to know that I'm in my own prison, and it will last all of my life.
Tracey Nix in court explaining her state of mind. She's in her own prison. Her granddaughter dead, hot car death. She was responsible, but also had a grandson, Ezra, who died while she was watching him, and she was asleep, he was asleep. He woke up, he got out of the house, and he drowned. So today was her sentencing day. I want you to take a listen to what the judge said in handing down the sentence.
Watched and heard her interview. I do not believe she's showing remorse. I believe she's showing sorrow. It is impossible for a defendant who refuses to accept responsibility for an offense to show remorse for that offense. Sympathy is not the same as remorse. Sorrow is not the same as remorse. The court hereby sentences Tracey Nix to Florida State Prison for a term of 5 years of Florida, or 60 months with credit for all time served. A $5,000 fine shall be reduced to a judgment lien. The cost of prosecution and restitution will be reserved for 60 days. Y'all can agree on it, or we'll have another hearing. She will be remanded under the supervision of the Department of Correction until her term of prison ends.
5 years. 5 years. Was justice served? Let's bring in our think tank. Joining us tonight, forensic psychologist Dr. John Delatorre, retired criminal defense attorney Kirk Nurmi, and former federal prosecutor and president of the West Coast Trial Lawyers, Nima Rahmani. Great to see everyone tonight. Dr. Delatorre, I wanted to ask you first about the grandmother, Tracey Nix, speaking with her attorney, saying 20 years she was on Ambien. Then after the death of one grandchild, there was like a double or 2.5 times the dose she had been taking for the 20 years before that she was on. And then she forgot that her granddaughter was in the car. What are your thoughts about how that all happened and how this family deals with this, right? Because She's still a mother. Her daughter's turning to her in court saying, I love you. Like, how does all this make any sort of sense, or how does this family go on from this point?
Well, they go on by just allowing time to happen. I mean, honestly, there's no roadmap for what's going to be happening. There's no way that there's ever going to be anything that makes sense in their lives moving forward. As for how any of this can happen, prescribing Ambien for someone who's clearly dealing with trauma and grief is wildly inappropriate. I mean, never mind whether or not a geriatric person should be taking Ambien. That's an inappropriate use of that medication. For 20 years, she's taking a sleep aid? No, there's so much that should have been happening, but it wasn't happening. Now, that doesn't take away her responsibility. She should have gone to her prescriber and said, there's more to this than just me not sleeping. But there's still, there's so much. This didn't have to happen, Vinnie. This didn't have to happen. But it did, because of the choices all different people made for this unfortunate circumstance.
Kirk Nurmi was justice served today, 5 years for Tracey Nix.
I think so. You know, Vinnie, here in Arizona, like in Florida, we get a lot of these hot car deaths, drowning, things of that nature. And it's just tragic every single time. And it breaks your heart to see what the parents are going through. And in that regard, you know, it's interesting because she's 67. The sentence isn't about protecting society. It's not about rehabilitation. It's strictly punitive. And in that regard, you could say, well, that seems a bit harsh. But to me, it doesn't. You're right in what you said earlier about the heightened sense of urgency she should have had towards looking after her grandchildren after the prior tragedy. So for her to ignore that and invest in these other behaviors that she did, and taking a nap and not making her grandchild a priority, to me, that warrants every day of that 5 years as punitive measures.
Nima, was justice served?
Vinnie, I think so, and I agree with everyone. Look, obviously justice was served for one reason, because that's what the jury said. They acquitted on the more serious charge, and they convicted of this with a 5-year max. But, you know, taking a step back, and you're right, we got to talk about Ezra. We got to talk about the Ambien, because it doesn't matter if you are elderly, you're popping Ambien, you're getting behind the wheel of a vehicle. The fact that you can't remember your grandkids are in the car, you have a responsibility as an adult, as a grandmother, to other human beings on the road, including and especially your own grandchildren. So the fact that this happened a second time, the judge had to absolutely consider that when fashioning an appropriate sentence. And I think a 5-year sentence in this case is more than just, Vinnie.
Dr. Delatorre, what are your thoughts about the mother and father? We saw them speaking today. They're in such incredible pain. Can they ever have any semblance of, can they have normal moments?
Normal moments, sure. But I mean, their hearts are always going to have 2 Ezra and Uriel size holes in their hearts. There's no way that they're really going to recover. Now, they're going to be different people moving forward, and they'll have ways in which they will cope with whatever it is that's going on. But it is not the natural order to bury your children in this case, and it's compounded that much. So they clearly need professional help. Both of them need to work together as a couple, and they need individual therapy, because this family has been torn apart, and they're doing everything they can to try to keep whatever kind of semblance of normalcy, whatever that may mean.
All right. Think Tank going to stay with us. When we come back, we're going to switch gears. Big trial is about to begin up in Massachusetts. I'm calling it the retrial of the century. Massachusetts versus Karen Reed. And now Judge Cannone is being sued. What? That's next.
The buffer zone that was in place last year should have stuck with trial 2, because there was no incidents or nothing that happened that would cause us to be pushed back even more. If anything, I feel like it's violating our amendment rights as an American to be able to speak freely of how we feel about a situation, but being told that we can't do so. And that's a problem. And if it continues, it's going to become a problem that is completely unconstitutional.
Karen Reed supporters have been pushed further back now, and now they are suing Judge Cannone. Take a look. This is the buffer zone lawsuit. Plaintiffs are members of the public who wish to publicly express themselves near but not on the grounds of the courthouse where the second Karen Reed trial is taking place. Their primary concern is that they wish to criticize Judge Cannone. They've been doing so since November of 2024 without incident. Judge Cannone has found her pretext to shut down protests against her, an ignoble request from the Commonwealth that an ill-defined, quote, buffer zone be declared on the streets, public walkways, public library, and private properties surrounding the Dedham Courthouse. Judge Cannone joyfully entered the order ex parte in joining the plaintiffs and everyone else who are not subject to her jurisdiction from speaking on private property and on traditional public fora. It is lawless, ultra-vires act that violates the constitutional guarantees of free speech and due process. Cannone has issued this order primarily to quash criticism directed at her, as this is the only protests that have been documented have been the plaintiffs in this case who have quietly held signs criticizing Cannone. How about that? Think Tank still with us. Dr. John Delatorre, Kirk Nurmi, and Nima Rahmani. All right, Kirk, what do you think about this? Has the judge crossed the line here? Do these people have rights to express themselves on normally public property that's not property of the courthouse, on private property that's obviously not property of the courthouse?
They have a right to protest and express themselves in any way they feel, but the court also has a duty to protect the sanctity of the court as well as the Sixth Amendment rights of the defendant. So this is a content-neutral regulation that applies to those who think Karen Reed is guilty.
Well, the defendant's not complaining about it. Kirk, the defendant's not complaining about it. The defendant's not complaining about it.
But the court still has a duty to protect her right to a fair trial, whether she's complaining about it or not, as well as the sanctity of the court. Both sides to get a fair trial. The Sixth Amendment has to hold sway here over the First Amendment, Vinnie, and this is content neutral. She's not saying certain people can't protest. She's not saying people can't say things about me. I mean, the higher courts have already upheld this, a similar restriction before. It's content neutral, just increases the buffer zone. And I think while there's a lot of colorful language in there, ultimately, in the end, it's frivolous litigation that will be denied.
Nima, your thoughts. Does it change the game at all that these particular plaintiffs have been criticizing the judge herself?
Vinnie, this is the analysis, and Kirk touched upon it. It's a time, place, manner restriction. So brush off your old constitutional law book.
No, thank you. That was a tough course, Nima. I'm not the youngest.
These are the 4 elements.
I'm not the youngest graduate of Harvard Law School. You are, so you can explain it.
I'll be professor on this one. So it has to be content neutral, and Kirk talked about this. It has to be narrowly tailored, and I'll talk about that in a bit. It has to leave open alternate channels of communication, and it has to serve a significant government interest. So protecting the integrity of the trial is important. This is where I think maybe the judge went too far. So the order says you can't use megaphones and the like. You can't be loud, because apparently there is a finding that the jurors heard the protesters while they're protesting in the middle of the trial. Now, that's a problem. I think where the judge may have crossed the line are the signs. I think if there's signs and they're protesting quietly, that may not be narrowly tailored. So they might get a win on this, but lose on the really vocal protests that can be heard in the courtroom.
Okay, Dr. John Delatorre, I've been up there. I've been there with these folks. They are passionate. They show up again and again. None of them knew Karen Reed before any of this. Where do you think that passion is coming from? Why does this woman have so many thousands of people who are supporting her?
I think it comes from several places. Number one, I think a lot of people see themselves in Karen Read, right? They see a woman that they believe is being railroaded by, a much larger organization. So they feel, empowered and emboldened to be on her side. I think some people just want to be contrarian. They see all the stuff online about how Karen Read is guilty and they don't think that that's appropriate. And then I think some other people are just getting caught up in the moment, right? The emotions of being part of a group who's standing for something. I think all of that is bringing all of these people who have no interest in this case whatsoever all together to be on the side of this woman.
Kirk, do you think that these folks would influence a juror? Do we trust our jurors to listen to the judge's instructions and base their verdicts solely on the evidence?
We have to. I mean, we don't have any alternative, right? But this is where I would disagree with Neiman in terms of maybe the manner and restrictions with the signs. Everything should be done to prioritize the right to a fair trial. The court has a duty to do that. And these people really, we talk about the mentality that Dr. De La Torre just mentioned. There becomes, and I saw this during the Arias trial, there becomes a bonding, there becomes almost like a team sport mentality to it. And people want to influence, people want to go beyond. They want their side to be vindicated. And that can be very dangerous, both in terms of safety, but in terms of what people will do to influence the jurors. And you have to be concerned about that. That's why there's these orders about not identifying them by characteristics, so they can't be singled out or what they call doxed later. So I think all these measures are very, very important to protect that trial, that integrity of that trial.
Great insight. That's why we bring them in, folks. Dr. John De La Torre, Kirk Nurmi, Nima Rahmani, thank you so much. When we come back, I will reveal for sure this time something else you need to know tonight. Plus, coming up next hour. He was 32 and weighed only 68 pounds. Tonight, the stepmother's lawyer joins us live to tell her side of the story.
Join Court TV's Vinnie Politan with the latest and breaking true crime stories.
Now, let's look at the other side of all of that.
Vinnie Politan Investigates, coming up next, only on Court TV.
Doomsday Cult mom is now lawyer Lori.
She's representing herself.
On charges of conspiring to murder her fourth husband.
She said, I can murder you now.
The Cult Mom Conspiracy Trial begins Monday morning, only on Court TV.
Time to reveal something else you need to know tonight. Let's take a look at the big board. Found safe. This is 16-year-old pregnant missing teen Sophia Franklin has been found safe. She's from Wisconsin. She was with a 40-year-old man. That's the man right there, Gary Day, who she met online in April. In July, Gary Day picked up Sophia, took her to Arkansas for multiple months. She was found there, was sent home to Wisconsin, but the two continued to communicate. And then in February, he's captured on surveillance video approaching Sophia's house in Wisconsin. She was reported missing after that. There were Amber Alerts. She's 5 months pregnant, and Gary Day is reportedly the father. This is how she was found. A tipster at a truck stop makes a call. Beaver Dam police saying that on Wednesday, April 2nd, 11:40 at night, Beaver Dam police notified deputies, responded to a tip of a possible sighting. Law enforcement made contact with the juvenile who was with an adult. It was Gary Day. He was taken into custody, and now Sophia Franklin was taken to a facility for reunification with her family. And we hope everything turns out well there. Now, before we go, take a look at your screens. We have a missing child who needs your help. Your tips help, folks. Take a look at Hailey Evonne Collins, 17 years old, missing out of Houston, Texas. If you see her, pick up the phone, 911, 1-800-THE-LOST, or you can call the Houston Police Department in Texas. Let's see if we can get Hailey to a safe place tonight. Don't go anywhere. We've got another hour of live true crime. Vinnie Politan Investigates is next. In the meantime, please don't forget to hug the kids.